when I was 15. When it all begun, did it ever cross your mind that maybe you should run? I guess not, because there you were standing like a lion waiting to—
Whether you'd like to admit it or not, there's no bigger name in current popular music and culture than Taylor Swift. Sorry Kanye fans, but it's true. Taylor's success over the past year and a half is absolutely unprecedented. She's reeling in ungodly amounts of money and has a fan base so fervently devoted to her, they'd almost assuredly take over an entire country if she commanded it. Mother truly is mothering, as they say. However, there are also many detractors of her who would say otherwise, and have no comprehension of why she could be as adored, famous, or as wealthy as she currently is. Never in my life would I have thought that Taylor Swift, of all people, would be one of the most controversial and polarizing figures within pop culture, yet here we are. Let's get into it, shall we? Since Taylor Swift came onto the scene, she has always been massively successful and has stayed consistently relevant in the media, but the level of superstardom she's experiencing and cultural impact she has is unparalleled to anything I've seen in recent years. That is aside from the voice of our generation, you know Miles, of course.
Shout out Martin Luther King, that nigga had a dream. Fuck do you mean?
Anyway, a few months ago I saw a video of one of her live shows and I was like, wait, hold on, what the hell is happening here? She was playing to a sold out arena of easily 60,000 people that all seemed to be undergoing a spiritual awakening, screaming every one of her songs word for word and all dressed up in outfits inspired by the aesthetics of her respective eras. I saw another video outside of the stadium where there were tens of thousands more people doing the same thing. Like, I knew Taylor was big, but not that big. Goodness gracious. Then I'm hearing things like, Taylor Swift makes $4 billion from TheErasTour. Her movie about the tour is #1 at the box office and clearly such a masterpiece, Taylor Lautner has been compelled to do backflips in the theater, and she's actually the new face of the NFL. It seems like this woman has taken over the world in the past year. But why now? It's quite uncommon for an artist to be the most prominent they've ever been over a decade into their career, and I hate to say it, but it's like, all this for Taylor Swift? And before I'm torn to pieces by the Swifties, by the way, go for it guys, it's very clear to me that Taylor has an incredible work ethic, is immeasurably savvy within the industry, and also just so happens to have some undisputed pop bangers. And look, I'm certainly no Taylor hater, but let's be real. She's not a particularly impeccable vocalist, certainly no musical virtuoso, and at face value doesn't emulate what would typically constitute a star. But I think that's one of the reasons why she's become so adored and successful. I find that we're currently living in an era where we want relatability within our celebrities, not necessarily something unattainable and godlike to aspire to. We crave authenticity. We want real humans, not these celestial figures like Michael Jackson or Beyonce who have otherworldly talent that no other human will ever be able to replicate or achieve. And although Taylor Swift is certainly an idol for many a young lady, I believe that her recent success has much more to do with the fact that she has become an avatar for her fans to project their life experiences, and honestly themselves onto. For all of the chronically online folk, Miss Swift has become something of a literally me character for her listeners, and her most recent album, The Tortured Poets Department, perfectly illustrates this. The Tortured Poets Department. One fateful day, my entire Instagram feed was bombarded with video after video of women who deeply resonated with this album, and of course I couldn't contain my intrigue. After many sessions of complete and utter brain rot maxing, watching the videos and listening to the album multiple times on an 11-hour flight, the plane was not private by the way, I have a few things to say. One, from a musical standpoint, this album is an absolute disaster. As I said prior, I think that Taylor actually does have some pop hits, but there are none here. The production on the album is completely barren and lifeless. Out of the 31 songs, there isn't a single catchy chorus, and for a record called The Tortured Poets Department, there sure is a considerable amount of unnecessary rambling and an astonishing lack of concision or anything remotely poetic within the lyrical content. Sorry Taylor, just because you use the word soliloquy or mention the name of a poet in your song does not make you one. You know how to ball, I know And honestly, the whole thing kind of sounds like whatever the hell this is. Can you remember how
I told you that night that I know what you feel like, how to love, and I gave you time, but I'm a sucker for it.
With all of that being said, I don't believe that people are resonating with this album because of the music at all. They are, because Taylor Swift put it out, so obviously it's the best thing to ever exist, first and foremost.
What happened to that track that was 8 seconds of static?
It went #1.
But in my estimation, the real reason is because on this record, Taylor perfectly captures the dire state of dating and relationships that an overwhelming majority of young women are currently experiencing. Long story short, the Tortured Poets Department may as well be called Situationship the album. Whether it's wanting someone to commit to you that won't, being in a relationship that felt too good to be true and realizing it was, or the female rage that comes with those things, this record has it all. Ultimately serving as a therapeutic respite for all of the women who have dealt with their own proverbial smallest man who ever lived.
Taylor Swift was so real for being like, I got my heart absolutely shattered by a mediocre man that all my friends and family hated. I mean, relatable.
I'm sure none of you are wondering, but the album supposedly chronicles the short-lived romance between Taylor and Maddie Healy of the 1975, who is now engaged to a longtime crush of mine, Gabriette, but that's neither here nor there. Many a Swiftie have remarked that Taylor is putting narcotics in these songs, and at first I was like, what drugs are we talking about? A leave? Then I realized that the narcotics in question are two inordinately potent substances that Taylor harnesses on this record: resentment and revenge. Honestly, I really think this is the primary reason why people are resonating with the album as much as they are. Every song that has become popular on this record is filled to the fucking brim with anger and vitriol, targeted at either Mr. Healy or the heart of whatever man who subjected Taylor to the agony she expresses on the Tortured Poets Department. And even if I'm misinterpreting the album, I'm certainly not doing the same with these TikToks.
And I hope it's shady in the black dog.
And in plain sight you hid, you are what you did.
Taylor Swift is a way better person than me because I don't just hope it's shitty in the Black Dog. I hope you slip and fall on the sticky beer-covered floor and break your neck in half and everyone records you and makes fun of you, and while you're on the ground, somebody steals your wallet and spends your entire life savings on fucking Bitcoin in the Black Dog.
The sheer resentment these women are expressing towards past situationships, incompetent rodent boyfriends, or liars and cheaters that somehow broke their heart against all odds may seem like overkill, but honestly, I'm not surprised by any of them. Believe me, I'm no fourth wave feminist, but there are men who are actually liars, cheaters, and trash. And as I mentioned prior, resentment is one hell of a drug. Resentment is easily one of, if not the most tantalizing emotions to hold hands with. It imbues you with a sense of power and falsely gives you purpose and promises you a world of peace if you can just enact your vengeance on the ones who did you wrong. And look, here's the thing. I get how emotionally destructive it is to go through a calamitous split with an insignificant other, weather the eternal storm of an inclement relationship, or get ghosted by a situationship seemingly out of nowhere, but the high of resentment is ephemeral at best, my dears. Eventually, you'll only do yourself more harm than good by fixating on people who hurt you instead of trying to heal yourself and ultimately forgive them, which of course is completely antithetical to Taylor's record, or at least its interpretation by the Swifties. I know that it's much easier to harbor hate in your heart and fantasize about having your sweet revenge, but I implore you, move on from your smallest man who ever lived. You've given him that name for a reason. However, to be slightly more empathetic, it is a genuine tragedy how broken so many of us are from our failed relationships. It seems like the more we invest ourselves in others, the more we're let down. The more love we have to give, the less it's appreciated and reciprocated. Our strength to be proud of our passion for romance is seen as a weakness to be taken advantage of. I'm sorry guys, the dating scene is truly fucked. What else can I say? But once again, revenge and resentment are not the answers, as they will give the person who hurt you more power and control over your life, leaving you wrapped tighter in misery's cruel embrace. To be a little bit less empathetic to Taylor Swift and all of you guys who relate to her record, frankly, it's quite embarrassing that you're placing 100% of the blame on Maddie Healy or your rodent man, like you guys somehow had nothing to do with the relationship. And let's even entertain the idea that we live in a fantastical realm where none of us can do any wrong. Who chose to be in a relationship with the person who hurt us? Oh, we did. Maybe we actually like a little toxicity. Maybe we even subconsciously choose the wrong person for us because deep down we want to sabotage our relationships due to our crippling feelings of inadequacy and the all-encompassing fear that no one could ever truly love us. But why would anyone consider that possibility when masquerading as the victim is just so much easier? Miss Swift keeps playing this card over and over again, but it's like at a certain point she has to be able to see that she's clearly the common denominator and a serious factor in her relationship woes. Since Taylor has been on the scene, she's had 24 public ex-boyfriends. Maybe it's just me, but taking dating cues from the patron saint of failed relationships probably isn't the best idea. One more thing about the Tortured Poets Department. This album has some serious Sigma male energy. You wouldn't last an hour in the asylum where they raised me. Like, okay, Taylor, was it this asylum? Maybe it was this one. Who knows? Like, it really does feel like an edgelord teenage boy wrote this. The entire album is like, I was a nice and innocent sweetheart, but they drove me into darkness and I came out a villain. Mess with me, see what happens. I promise you won't like the outcome. And it's already enough of a travesty when that kind of rhetoric is coming from a 16-year-old boy on Reddit or some forum. And I totally get the feeling of being scorned, where you think that you have to get your valor back and you want your vindication from all the bullshit that you dealt with, but a little maturity would be appreciated, especially from a 34-year-old. Based on my critique thus far, I'm sure that many of you would probably assume that I don't like Taylor Swift, and with great regret, I must confess that it is quite the contrary. Upon listening to her music, I took her for a rather basic and uninspired complainer with the emotional maturity of a 13-year-old, but with a little more investigation, I honestly think she might be my celebrity crush. First and foremost, I can admit that although I'm working on it, I'm still consistently attracted to the wrong kinds of women, particularly the ones with god complexes who probably belong in insane asylums. And no, I'm not romanticizing mental illness, I just like a little crazy, and Taylor perfectly fits the bill in both instances. Anyone who doesn't think that Taylor is a little bit off her rocker is either blind, deaf, or both. Like, she shamelessly made a career off of writing about her very public relationships.
You're not gonna write about this, are you? I'm like, yeah, I am.
Knowing damn well her rabid fan base will viciously attack any of her exes the moment she writes a song about them. She's currently putting out 78 million new versions and releases of her album to stifle the success of other prominent female artists like Charli XCX, and most notably Miss Essential Oils and Satan herself, BillieEilish. Like, so much for being a girl's girl, Taylor. In Taylor's mind, she is #1, and no one else should even try to hold a candle to her musical and monetary divinity. Even the way that Taylor articulates herself has this intense, almost prophetic quality to it.
There's a different vocabulary for men and women in the music industry, right?
Give me an example.
Okay, a man does something, it's strategic. A woman does the same thing, it's calculated.
And even though that's complete and utter gibberish, she sold the hell out of that. Slay Queen. She makes everything seem so larger than life, even the mundane and the innocuous.
I'm protecting my happiness like a fortress. It's a very different thing.
And she does it all with this feline-like gleam of mischief in her eyes. Okay, John, easy now. Like, none of these clips may even seem that crazy, but imagine someone talking to you with this much grandiosity and conviction. You'd be like, hey girl, cool it with a cult leader thing, but as we know, that's not happening with Miss Swift.
If you had a superpower, what would it be?
Healing people.
God complex detected. If Taylor comes out and says something like, follow me into the world I've promised you, you'll be safe and free there, all you have to do is believe, I would not bat an eyelash. And you know the Swifties are going with her too. Aside from the god complex and the crazy, what I like the most about Taylor Swift is that she embraces her oddities and almost prides herself on being awkward and cringe.
Learn to live alongside cringe.
And yes, a lot of it is in that, oh my goodness, look at me, I'm eating pizza, you literally can't take me anywhere kind of way.
Can I put them on your bed?
You know?
One of them? You can do that. Yep, it seems cool.
But there are definitely flashes of authentic weirdness that I think are very attractive.
Okay, so you can't see a sea urchin. If you're, like if you're in the Caribbean, you can't see a sea urchins right there, and then you step on one, and then it has barbs and it goes into whatever it touches. All over the internet it was like, Taylor Swift looks awkward when she dances. She's so bad at dancing. Yeah, I do dance awkwardly, and I'm having more fun than you.
She's like, you think my stiff dancing is going to prevent me from ruling over the entire world? You definitely should be afraid of little old me.
You don't like me for being who I am? Watch me be who I am more.
Like, I know that Taylor is kind of the 34-year-old poster child for basic women everywhere. But for better or for worse, she kind of is like a very authentic and idiosyncratic woman, and a little bit intoxicating because of it. Are millennial white women my type? Like, what's going on? Let me answer my own question. Taylor Swift is antithetical to the ambivalent, pseudo-nonchalant bullshit that has become far too prevalent amongst my generation.
This is the guide to being more nonchalant.
Everyone in Gen Z cares so much about being the coolest person in the room, so much so they're deathly afraid to show a modicum of authenticity and instead resort to being uncontroversial, sickeningly sanctimonious, and boring as fuck. Hottest take of the video here. I'll take millennial cringe over my generation's bullshit any day of the week. And to be completely honest with you, does Taylor Swift seem insufferable? Yes. Would I probably get annoyed with her in like 2 hours? Yes. But at least she has some life in her eyes, and she's okay with being a little weird. I like that. Anyway, what I find extremely interesting about Taylor is that her supreme confidence comes with an equal amount of constant complaining about her situation and insecurity that stems from an astonishing lack of gratitude for her privilege and success. Look, everyone is insecure about something, but it's genuinely remarkable how much Taylor hyperfixates on her very few naysayers and critics in comparison to the hundreds of millions of people who would go to war for her and gladly lay down their lives for their holy and majestic, benevolent Swiftator.
Every step of my career, there's been, people questioning whether I deserve to be there. They're saying I'm dating too much in my 20s. Okay, I'll stop. I'll just be single for years.
Now they're saying my album Red is filled with too many breakup songs. Okay, Oh, they're saying my music is changing too much for me to stay in country music. All right. Now it's that I'm showing you too many pictures.
Like, girl, you are a billionaire, have more Grammys than you know what to do with, are literally one of the most famous people on the planet, and you still always find a way to make a problem out of something. This is the dichotomy of Taylor Swift, and maybe a fair amount of women as well, where in one breath they're a god illuminated by their radiant glory, and in another a vortex of insecurity and fragility.
What's one thing you still have from your childhood?
My insecurities.
And still, I couldn't be more head over heels for whatever's going on with her. I need to sort myself out, goodness gracious. In any event, speaking of insanity, let's have a little chat about the Swifties. If there's any possible way that I can praise the Swifties, I can certainly admire their passion for Taylor and her music, and I respect their commitment to the cause. However, if the Swifties do find this video, I'm sure that this comment section will be a testament to the true nature of the fandom, as they will not tolerate a modicum of Taylor critique, and of course will resort to vitriolic comments and unsavory insults toward anyone who doesn't revere their queen in the same way that they do.
The guys that hate Taylor Swift that go online and start talking about it, I'm always like, oh, no. You hate women. What you're saying is very anti-female.
And I'll address the Swifties directly here. I get it, you guys. She speaks to you in a way that no one else can. But someone not being a devout worshiper of Taylor shouldn't be nearly as big of a deal as you guys are making it out to be. I know it hurts oh so bad that Taylor is only the most successful artist on earth at this current moment, but clearly that's not enough for many of you. If someone doesn't like Taylor for whatever reason, it's okay, even if you disagree with it. There's no need to get in the comment sections of an Instagram reel and call people misogynist or pick-me's because they're not sucking off Taylor because they don't resonate with Taylor like you guys do. This might be a controversial take, but some people just have different tastes than others. Look, even my hypercritical ass can see Taylor's appeal, or even why a Swiftie would spend $4 grand on a ticket for the Eras Tour. Like, I'm personally a fan of music that makes me feel like this. You loved a girl like Taylor Swift once. But I'm not going to denigrate someone's entire worth just because they don't appreciate it as much as I do. One of the primary criticisms I've heard about the Swifties is that they're in a cult, and it's like, yeah, they know. They're also extremely proud of it and take it as a compliment, so there's no need to really elaborate on that. With that being said, I find that they've highlighted a much more prominent issue within our culture, which is the worship of celebrities. Once again, there's nothing wrong with appreciating a celebrity's work, paying for their live shows, albums, merch, etc., or even engaging in some conversation about their personal lives, but I think that the vast majority of us, as usual, have gone too far. The most recent Drake and Kendricklamar beef is a perfect example of this. And let me just say this. If you had fun with the Drake and Kendricklamar beef, that's cool, but people are taking this shit so seriously, like it matters in any way. Like, come on, man, do you not have any self-respect? And Kendrick won, by the way, obviously, but what person in their right mind didn't know that would be the outcome? Oh yeah, of course.
What top 5 you smoking on, Kendrick?
Because my top 5 is Drake, 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 Drake.
And I know that this entire video is about a celebrity, but why the hell do we care so much about the lives of celebrities like they're our friends, where we're defending them, justifying their abhorrent behavior, and latching onto their success like it somehow residually benefits us? Like, even with Drake, he literally had to have an overwhelming amount of evidence confirming that his certified government name is Peter File for people to remotely question his unimaginably questionable character, even though he's been a complete and utter cornball and the undisputed clown prince of mediocre music for over a decade. Come on, guys. Outside of frivolous thoughts and moderately entertaining conversation, these celebrities offer absolutely nothing truly substantive to our lives, but once again, I'll empathize. In a world where it seems more and more difficult to derive genuine meaning from our own lives, many of us are turning to those of celebrities in an effort to eradicate the vacancy of our own. But my friends, this is nothing but a futile attempt at finding value in your life, and it will never give us the peace and fulfillment we are truly searching for. And look, I get it. We all want to feel connected and be a part of a community, whether we're a Swiftie, a Chiefs fan, or something in between. But at the end of the day, we have to realize that we're really not all that different regardless of what we're into or what we believe. As corny as it sounds, let's try our best to understand that we're all going through it and should try and be a little more understanding of everyone's circumstances, struggles, and cringe. Unless you're a Drake fan, of course. Let me know what you guys think about Taylor Swift and her album in the comments. As always, good night, my darlings. Bye-bye.
So